Thank you. Delighted to be here. There are a lot of secrets to stress-free productivity, but I'm going to focus on one key big one and give you some how-tos about it. First question I have is, how are things in your head office? Where is your head office? For most people, they're using this as their office. The problem is it's a terrible office. Your brain did not evolve to remember, remind, prioritize, or manage relationships with more than guess how many things based upon new cognitive science research. That's it. Any of you have more than 4 things on your mind, by the way? If so, you're going to likely be driven by latest and loudest, not by intuitive, intelligent strategy. So I discovered this 35 years ago. The cognitive scientists in the last 10 years and tons of research have basically proven this, and that is that your mind is for having ideas, but it's not for holding them. It wasn't designed to do that. Your brain was designed to do brilliant stuff. You're doing it right now, so that you could survive on the savannah and in the desert and in the jungle. Your brain uses long-term history and pattern recognition to say, that's a lion, that's a tiger, those are berries in the bushes. And you're doing that right now. You're doing it brilliantly. Computers can barely even come close to doing what you're doing right now. But you go to the store for lemons, and you come back with 6 things and no lemons. What happened? You tried to use this as your office, and it just does not work. Now, when we say get things done, how many things do you have to get done? And over the years, I discovered there are 6 horizons of our commitments that we have. And whether you're conscious of them or not, you've got them. So the top level, and we'll talk about sort of operationally going, from top down. Top level of your commitment is to fulfill your purpose as a human being within your core values. Why are you on the planet? How are you doing? Now, even if you know your life purpose, will that help you decide which email to write first? A little bit. But you're going to then need to get more operational. You're going to need to get done your vision of fulfilling your purpose successfully. What's your vision? Where do you want to be career-wise, lifestyle-wise, 5 years from now? That's something you also want to get done. At some point, you had some vision that got you here. Now, even knowing your vision long-term, will that help you decide what to do? Well, a little bit more. But then you're going to need to probably determine what are the things you need to accomplish over the next 3 to 24 months that are going to make that vision actually happen. This would be in your organizations, usually your strategic plan, your operational plan, and so forth, at that level of game and that level of commitment. That's something you need to get done. And then you have all the stuff you need to get done to maintain yourself and your organization so it's healthy and balanced. In your organizations, that would be sales, asset management, staff development, system design, customer service, quality control. In your personal life, that's going to be your finances, your health, your energy, your relationships, your spiritual life. How are you doing? Those are not things you finish. Those are things you need to do things about to maintain them in some healthy way so that you can move toward the game you're going to play. Your job description, if you will. Then you have all the stuff you need to finish about that, what I call projects, anything that's going to take more than one action step to finish, that you can finish within the next few months or a year. Most of you, by the way, have about 30 to 100 of those right now. If you take that broad definition, get tires on your car, handle the next holiday, hire the vice president, launch the ad campaign, research whether to get your tooth fixed or not. Those are projects. You got a lot of them. And then you have all the stuff you need to do about any of that. Those are all the physical actions, the emails you need to send, the stuff to buy at the store, the stuff to talk to your partners about, the things you, yada, yada, yada. And most people have between 150 and 200 of those right now as an inventory of things to get done. How are you doing, by the way? Now, wouldn't it be nice if it showed up in this neat little way package for you? Hi, good morning, here's your game. No, that's not how it shows up. This is how it shows up. Right? So how do you get mindful in a space like this? How do you get the space to think or whatever? Well, there actually is a way to do that. And I discovered over the years there's a state of mind or a state to get into that is a productive way to surf through and on top of all this. I steal this from the martial arts, mind like water. What does that mean? Well, water appropriately engages with its environment. It's not confused. It doesn't overreact. It doesn't underreact. But if you're taking one meeting to the next in your mind, and you're taking home to work in your mind, and work to home in your mind, you are not in a mind like water state. Now, a lot of people would say, well, oh, David, I could get to that mind like water state if I had more time. Sure. Good thing you only have 24 hours a day, isn't it? If you had 26, you'd have 2 more of what you got. Come on, Mozart had 24 hours. Mother Teresa had 24 hours. Johann Sebastian Bach had 24 hours. I know he didn't have WhatsApp, but he had 20 kids. Take your pick. He still got a lot of stuff done. By the way, how much time does it take to have a good idea? 0. How much time does it take to be strategic? 0. How much time does it take to be creative or innovative? 0. How much time does it take to just be loving and present with whatever you're doing? 0. Those do not require time, and yet most of you would say those are some of the golden goodies of life: being creative, being innovative, being strategic. Having the ability to follow your curiosity down the paths it's leading you. See, I can tell you that the methodology I uncovered many years ago, called Getting Things Done, GTD for short, the people who have implemented that without fail have created the one thing you do need in order to be creative, strategic, loving, present, and all that, and that is you need room. You need room. The people most attracted to my work are the people who need it the least. They're already the most creative, productive, aspirational, positively focused people. They're just up to here. They got no more room. And they know how powerful a system is. They know how powerful processes are. They've just over-created past their own ability to keep up with themselves. They've created their own overwhelm. By the way, the world is not overwhelmed. Just look. It's fine. It's only your relationship to it, which is where the issue is. So you need space. By the way, what would you do if you had nothing pulling on your psyche right now? Empty spot, blank slate, tabula rasa. If you had no pressures, no pulls on your psyche now at all, how would you use it? How would you use it? Some of you would be just more creative. There are a lot of people in the creative professions that are big champions of my stuff. 2 of my biggest champions are Will Smith and Robert Downey Jr. Those guys are running big businesses too, but a lot of people think that structure or system is going to stifle your creativity. Just the opposite. If you have just the right structure, it's going to free it up. A lot of people use it to certainly be more strategic. You get more space, you can see further, you can see a longer horizon instead of being down in the weeds so tightly. A lot of people use it simply to be present. I coached the previous head of the World Bank, and his presenting issue to me was, he said, David, when I go home on the weekends with my young kids, I don't want to take the World Bank with me. Now, being present is actually a very healthy place to operate from. You get more blood to the brain, you'll have better ideas, you'll be more relaxed, you'll be more relatable. But the very practical reason to be present is because it's going to get you ready for what's coming towards you you can't see. And boy, the speed of change is speeding up, folks. Come on, you'll hear a lot more about it, I'm sure, at this conference. This world is changing. The bottom lines are all the same. What's different is how frequently things are. Your parents only had to probably reshift how they managed and ran their life maybe 2, 3, 4 times. We're having to do it weekly now, just the way that things are moving. So being ready for what's coming toward you requires you to be clear and present. If you over or underreact, you lose. So that, and you've probably seen or heard in the last 4 or 5 years, how much research has shown your brain needs to relax, folks. You need to archive, you need to daydream, you need to be spontaneous, you need that time, you need to sleep, you need to take naps. I used to think I just love to sleep and I'm lazy. No, now I know I'm smart. And it's actually about a whole lifestyle. It's a whole, not just tips and tricks for time management. it's really the art of how you manage the flow of life's work. And that won't end until your life does. And you are all doing versions of things that work. Come on. Any of you ever take work home that you had to bring back somewhere the next morning to a meeting or to the office? Don't forget it, but you took it home to edit it or review it. What strategies did you employ to make sure you wouldn't forget that in the morning? Ever put things in front of the door? For this, you got a college degree? Wow. Actually, it is very smart. The night before, some part of you was smart enough to know that whoever was going to try to go through the door in the morning may barely be conscious, if at all. What the hell is it? Oh, that's right. I got to take that with me. Class act. Actually, it is. When you were smart and conscious, you made a conscious, smart decision. You parked a reminder someplace that you didn't have to be that smart to do something smart. I hope you got that. The trick is what do you put in front of the door? The door of your mind, not necessarily the door of your house. What do you need to look at to orient yourself before the board meeting? What did you need to look at so you had these 2 days to be able to go to the conference and be clear? What do you need to look at to orient yourself to spend the weekend with your family? It's all about putting stuff in front of the door. It's just the door of your consciousness, not necessarily the door of your house. Same idea. Same idea. So if you were going to try to do that, if you wanted to have an absolutely clear head, what do you have to do? You have to get the stuff out of your head that's in there, that's taking it up. Let me give you the methodology in a few seconds. So listen up. Here it comes. If you want to have an absolutely clear head, have nothing on your mind except whatever you're doing and be totally present, moment to moment, you need to make sure you captured anything that's potentially meaningful to you, that you've parked, that you've clarified exactly what you're going to do about it, if anything. You've parked the results in some sort of organizational system that you trust you'll see the right things at the right time. So you're not missing anything that in terms of options. And then you just keep your eye on all these levels of commitments that you got, so you're making trusted choices about what to do. That's it. That is it. So I'll apologize right now. I'm not going to tell you anything other than that. And I guarantee you I have spent thousands of hours one-on-one with some of the busiest, best, and brightest people on the planet, walking them through this methodology to actually get them to implement this. So you're not born doing it. Very simple steps you need to follow. There are 5 of them. If you want to get any situation more clear and under control. Right. Very quickly, you need to capture stuff that's not on cruise control, stuff that has your attention. You need to clarify exactly what you're going to do about it, if anything. Organize the results in some trusted place that you know you're going to step back and reflect and review on the contents and some appropriate recursion, so that then when you engage your attention, your focus, and your activities is done from a place of trust, not hope. That's it. But these 5 steps have 5 very different best practices and different tools. It's not all just one thing. So the first step you need to do is you need to grab stuff that's got your attention. By the way, I'm curious, how many of you, even for the few minutes we've been talking up here from this stage, have had your mind go somewhere that has absolutely nothing to do with what's going on in here? Let's see. Okay, well, by the way, if where your head went was doing creative developmental thinking down track your brain hadn't been before that was adding value to what you were thinking about, I'd go, dude, stay there. That's a cool place for your head to go. That's not where most of you went. You went to something that you're not appropriately engaged with yet. If you thought, oh, I need cat food, if that pops into your head more than once, you're not appropriately engaged with your cat. So you don't have to go very far to see where to implement this. Start to notice what's on your mind. If you want to clear it, you better start to notice what has your attention. And that could be cat food. It could be I need to get a life. I need to get a wife. Any of those. If you can't do them the moment you think of it, that's something you better capture. Right? Collect what has your attention. Little, big, personal, or professional, doesn't matter. Cat food will take up as much brain space as strategic plan at 3 o'clock in the morning, if it's just in your head. So you've got to get it out, folks. So if nothing else, you want to do what we call a mind sweep. Pen and paper, that's all you need. Just get that stuff out, and don't let it land in here. That's a big habit to change, by the way, so that you, as soon as you commit something to yourself or to somebody else, you absolutely, if you're like me, you're going to grab something, a little notepad that I carry in my pocket, and write it down. No kidding. Now, if you stop there, you'll likely become a compulsive list maker. And that's not going to help either. You'll have lists stuck all over God and creation out there. That's going to suck right back up in your head if you don't move it to the next step, which is to then get those capture things emptied. And you get them emptied not by necessarily throwing them away, but by clarifying what they mean and what you're going to do about them. So if I were sitting with you and you dump stuff out of your head, then I'm going to take each one of those and say, okay, what is it? Is it an actionable item? Yes or no? If it's not, it's either trash, reference material, or something to hold on for later review. If it is actionable, you need to answer a very critical question. What is the very next action you would need to take? Very next action. Email to send, something to buy at the store, something to talk to somebody about. And once you decide that, you can either do the action. If it takes less than 2 minutes, you should. You can delegate it if you can give it to somebody else. That's helpful. And if it's neither of those, then you need to park it in some sort of inventory of all of your next actions that you've decided you need to take. If one action won't finish, then you've got a project you need to capture. That'll clarify those emails, those notes that you take, the notes that you're going to come back from this conference with. You should get this conference off your mind as soon as you can. The way you do that is you put it through this process. Then you need to organize the results. If you don't finish them that moment, you need to park some reminder somewhere that, that it belongs. Quite simply, you don't need a real complex system. You do need a project list. Very few people have that. You need to keep track of your actions that come in two flavors. Actions that happen specifically to days and times that go on your calendar, and then actions you just need to do as soon as you can do them around all your other stuff. You also need to keep track of actions and projects other people are doing, a waiting for list. That'll actually hold most all of your commitments operationally, by the way. Fairly simple system. And of course, the non-actionable stuff, you need reference material, you need trash, and you need a someday maybe list. Someplace on hold, bucket list, might want to do that, but not now. You need to capture that. That's a creative list. Then, of course, you need to look at these lists at the right time, right? If you have a list of things to talk to your life partner about, you need to look at them when you see him or her, right? So you just need to make sure you lift up and look at a higher perspective. If you've looked at your calendar for the last 2 or 3 days, you did this. You lifted up a little bit, looked across the space and time spectrum to locate yourself in space and time. That's all this is. It's just most people don't have the full inventory to review yet. And then, of course, you do stuff based upon that. If you've captured, clarified, organized, and reviewed, then you're making trusted choices about how you engage and choose what to do. In a way, it is that simple. Now, life is coming at us like that, though. And again, to thread through it, you're not born doing these practices. But if you build in these practices so they become habitual to you, then you can surf on a mind like water. Guaranteed. Thousands of people out there, advocates of the GTD system, would attest to that. Now, sometimes the water is going to feel like this. That's okay, as long as you can surf and got a good board. Now, invariably, this guy's going to what? Fall off. Yeah, but he's got something called an ankle tether tied to the board. Why? He can get back on really quick, and it lets him surf bigger waves. So if you get these best practice of methodologies so that you've got more clear space and know how to get back to clear space when you fall off, then, hey, that's a cool place to be. And that'll serve you the rest of your lives. It'll give you more room to follow your curiosity, for sure. Now, two deep cognitive science researchers several years ago read my book. They got fascinated by it, and they actually did quite a bit of study about the science behind stress-free productivity. And it's a 25-page white paper that was peer-reviewed. Oh, it took me about 5 reads to try to get it, but I finally got it. One of the guys is an expert in insect behavior. Have you ever had 2 ants in your kitchen and then 200? How come? Well, the worker ant is programmed to go look for food. If they find food, they're programmed to take it back to the nest. But when they do, they're dropping a pheromone trail. The next worker ant shows up and goes, pheromone trail, yo, food. Right. Until the food runs out, pheromone trail runs out, they go away. In other words, the ant is dumb, he has no memory, but is a highly effective being. It is so nice to allow myself to be dumb and stupid and do smart things. I hope you get it. Okay, that's kind of the message for stress-free productivity.
Thank you, Dave.
Samantha,
wow.
they got some questions?
Well, I know I have some questions too.
Okay.
So that's a lot of information to digest. But at the same time, it seems so simple. So how did you first start adapting that into your life?
I had a couple of mentors that taught me some key things, the mind sweep and next action thinking. I had a mentor in my first consulting practice who helped me a lot with that. He had uncovered those as techniques to help executives clear their heads so they could make changes better. So there was no one big epiphany, just a long string of epiphanettes. I came across that, and I came across that, and then I started to put all this together. But see, I had a love of clear space to begin with. I had a black belt in karate and martial arts and did meditative and spiritual practices, so I loved that freedom of clear space in my head, and as my life got more complex, it screwed up clear space. So I was motivated to find these things for myself so I could stay clear and still in a more complex life.
So one thing I do want to mention is we've got 2 teams that have microphones, so we'd love to hear some questions from the audience as well. If you do have any questions, please feel free to stick up your hand and grab one of these 2 teams that are walking through the audience, and we've got one over there from Raphael.
Hey, I'm using QTD since 10 years now, and
does it hurt?
How do you cope with just having lists over lists over lists and not getting anything done?
Yeah, well, you need as many lists as you need so that whatever you get done is done from a clear space. See, a whole lot of my life is not on my list, but my list gives me the freedom to do that. So you can only feel good about what you're not doing when you know what you're not doing. Right? If you don't have that inventory, some part of you is going to, well, I'm not sure this is what I ought to be doing. You need to be able to look at all of that and go, no, I'm going to have a beer. That's a high-performance beer.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So one of the things I was wondering as you were talking is, what's on your might-do list?
Might-do list?
Yes.
Oh, go to Iceland, go to New Zealand, take a balloon ride with my wife, write my memoirs.
Sounds wonderful. I think it should move to your to-do list. I think we've got a question from this gentleman.
Yeah. Hello, my name is Tali. I'm the founder of Reblock. We make notebooks where you can write all your ideas in, and that's what I do. But the problem is, I'm using also some applications on the computer, things, for example, and like the speaker before me, it was not the big, I couldn't finish the stuff because at the end, the new stuff coming took me lots of time to put it in the 5 steps.
Yeah.
So could you recommend me something, how to do the ink time? It's a matter of time. You say it's not a matter of time. A little bit, I think, yes, it is, because the new stuff need to be organized.
Sure.
And my wife says, stop organizing, do something. Yeah.
I get it. It takes 60 to 90 minutes a day for anybody in this room to stay current with new incoming. You can't get away. You could stop the stuff coming in, or just let it pile up and blow up. But you're letting it come in, and it takes that long to decide, clarify, next action, and organize. You just need to be good and efficient with that, so that you keep the deck really clear. The weekly review is the key. You're not doing weekly reviews, by the way.
Would you say in the evening or in the morning? The most...
I do them whenever I feel like it.
Okay, thank you.
You got it.
I think we've got another question over there.
Hello there. Basically, I get lots of small tasks to do, which take like 20 to 30 minutes tops. And I found out I've got no proper medium for organizing them. It's like I've tried Excel lists, I've tried writing down on paper, and I just always lose something or something gets out of hand. What medium would you recommend to write up tasks like that?
I don't know. I don't know. I'd have to sit down and say, well, what's the task? Where are you going to put that if you can't finish it right now? Where do you park it so you see it at the right time? That's really all it is. And you need as many places that you park it as you need. If it's something you want to do. Now, once you start to look at all of this, and again, I mentioned the weekly review, that's, if you take to this practice, at least once a week you need to clean house and get everything current again and look things from a higher perspective. If you're not doing that, this stuff will fall away pretty fast because your list will get out of shape, they'll get out of date, and then you won't trust them, and then it's too hard to keep the friggin' thing alive. So you'll fall off very fast. People fall off this very fast. The good news is you can get back on very fast. All you have to do is sit down and clean house again, get your head empty again, and refine your list. And it takes several months to customize your own system so it works for your lifestyle and your work style. So you just need to work it. The principles are Ben Franklin made lists, and you're going to need an in-basket when we fly to Jupiter. So these are eternal practices. And there's nothing new under the sun here. You just need to get much more efficient with them and don't waste any time doing it. You want to spend as little time with the system as possible, but use the system to be making good choices and to have free head and to do all the stuff you want to do with a free head.
We've got a question in the back.
Yeah, hi. My name is Raphael. I have a question regarding organizing via GTD. So sometimes I have the feeling I use more time organizing myself with the GTD principle than actually doing things. So with a concrete example, for example, the day starts, I have all my inbox, I got a lot of input, a lot of information, my inbox gets bigger and bigger, and then I have, for example, an hour where I organize myself. So I put it into action S, small, big, and so forth. But during this, I get additional input, and my brain says, okay, you better organize yourself than actually doing something. So it's always a fight between organizing and doing things. I don't know. Do you have any input for this?
Well, if you're actually doing this organization, you actually get a lot of work done just clearing up your in-basket. That is your work. If it's not, why are you getting it? That is your work. Peter Drucker, the late, great Peter Drucker, would tell everybody in here, your toughest job is defining what your work is. And that doesn't show up by itself. You actually have to think. And thinking takes time and energy. And by the way, if you like football, soccer, how long do you think the soccer team practices or gets ready for their work? How about 90% of the week? If you just spent the first 7 hours of your work day getting ready, your last hour is going to be hot. Most people don't even spend 5 minutes thinking about their work. So you just need to do as much as you need to so it's off your mind. That's my criteria. And by the way, getting your backlog to 0 makes it so much easier to deal with new stuff. If you've got a large backlog of still uncaptured, unclarified, unprocessed things, any new input, even cool stuff, feels crap. Because it's just bothering you, and you know you've got a bunch of other stuff to do. That's why when I'm not doing anything else, folks, I'm cleaning up to 0, because there's a surprise coming toward me I can't see. And when that sucker hits, I want the freedom to be able to just make a good intuitive choice right there and know I'm not missing anything. So I just spend as much time as I need to get to that space. This is not extra work. You're going to have to do this at some point anyway. Either that or you're understaffed. That could be an OD issue. I don't know. Good luck.
Thank you very much.
Sure.
We've got another question in the back.
Hello, Yasmin. Thanks for nicely putting us the 5 steps. So, can you please share some tips with us when this 5-step process is interrupted, and it happens frequently and easily? When the CEO calls or you have someone popping in your office, what are your tips so to get back us to the point where we were interrupted? Thank you.
Got it. How many of you get too many interruptions? Come on, fess up. Too many interruptions. Okay, let me give you the hard news. Now, I'm 73 years old, so I'm okay with hard news and being direct. I hope you don't mind. There are no interruptions. There are only mismanaged inputs. There are no if you should be getting it, you should be getting it. That's your job. If you should not be getting it, stop it. Now, the problem is a lot of people get inputs but then don't know what to do with that input right away, and so you feel like you have to go do that as opposed to be able to park it and see it against all your other work. So there is a skill set to develop that you can then deal with those things that come at you. But think about this, folks. There's one organization that never has fires and crises. The fire department. That's their job. And most of the alarms are false. Talk about a reason to be pissed. But when the alarm goes off, boom, everything stops. We now go do that work. And when they're not doing that, what are they doing? Getting ready for the next one. No kidding. So life's kind of like that.
So can I ask you a question on that? Because I once heard the tip that, I call those moments grenades. So when somebody's thrown a grenade into your day. Somebody once gave me the advice to try and plan some grenade time for like first thing in the morning or later in the evening. Any thoughts on those types of things, or are you just saying ignore it all?
If you could hold to that, that's fine. But see, rules are made when brains run out.
Yeah.
Sorry. I make no rules about any of that kind of stuff. I plan as little as I can get by with, because I like to follow my spontaneous, intuitive hunches. That's, to me, is where success comes from. That's how I designed all this, so I'm free to follow my spontaneous, intuitive hunches.
Love that.
And throw the grade back.
Love that. And I see some thumbs up in the audience. I think we've got time for one more question. Yep.
Hi. I do find myself when I like reorganized and I've tried to think about things and reflect, when I'm then in that action phase, I do find myself like slipping back into autopilot and like just doing things, and it's good for a while, but do you have any practices that you do to get back into that other stage?
There's one that works without fail. Get older. It's happening already. It's happening now. You don't have to work at that. Get older. And practice. Just keep coming back to the well. I fall off. If you're not falling off regularly, you're not probably playing a big enough game. So it's not always about being in, well, there's nothing wrong with that. But anytime you set a new goal, anytime I imagine this conference is going to throw some of you out of your comfort zones because you're going to overcreate all the cool shit I want to do. Oh my God, yeah! And then you blow up all your old system, and after you fall off the game, and then you restructure it based upon the new input. Life's like that. So get used to that. Get used to the process. You just need to know how to get back on. So if you fall off the wagon, that's okay as long as you know that there's a wagon and how to get back on it. Most people don't.
Thank you, David. I know I walked away with a few, yes, I need to start implementing that in my life, and I'm sure there's things we're all going to start to try and practice more of. So thank you very much, and we'll find out next year when you're back how we're all doing. How's that?
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, David.